Welcome back to Checkmate with Blake, and in this video I'm going to teach you guys how to win Rook Endgames. Rook Endgames are some of the most common endgames that you will encounter, positions where you have a rook, they have a rook, and there's a few pawns on the board. Now these positions are often boiled down to one simple strategy that I'm going to show you in this video, and by using this strategy you will win much more games. I'll do it through two examples. I'll show you guys two examples, one where we're clearly winning as you can see here, but the reason is not so clear. And on the second one, I'll show you guys one that is slightly winning for white, and we'll use this simple strategy to win more games. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel that we have here today. I'd love to have you guys. We also have channel memberships, and of course, I'm doing private chess coaching. If you're interested in some of that private chess coaching, I'll attach a link in the description in the comments as well. We'll go and get started. Now, what is the simple rule that I use to win more rook endgames? And that simple rule is rook activity. Now that might seem obvious, but let me show you guys how we can use this and simplify this rule to win more games. When we look at this position, as you can see by the analysis here, we are up 4.7. So obviously we are completely winning. But why is it that we're completely winning in this position? Because if you stop and look at this position and say, what is white's move? You may think we should just push this pawn here and try to just push it up the board, simplify it, right? Because we're up a pawn. We have 3 pawns, they have 2. But it is much deeper than that because as you can tell, when we push this pawn here to d5, we are no longer winning by as much as we were. We're actually only winning by 0.4. Even though this move makes sense to simplify the pieces and try to just push this pawn up the board, it is incorrect. The correct move that you have to play in order to win this game is actually this move Rook e3. And why is Rook e3 the move that I want you guys to play? Well, Rook e3 is very important because as I said, we're going to focus on piece activity, Rook activity. And why is Rook activity so important? It's because this rook and their rook are our only pieces on the board, of course, aside from the kings, that have a very, very influential role in this endgame. So what we want is we want to take our best pieces and put them on the best squares possible. And what is the best square for this rook in this position? It's not e3, but it's actually e5. Because as you will see, once we get our rook to e5, it will be a very, very easy win for us. Now, what can black play here? Most likely, black will play the move rook d6 to attack our undefended pawn. And we, again, are going to play our rook now to e5. We give a check, and now when the king moves, its only move is f6. Now what do we do? Now we've noticed that we've swung our rook over to a better position, and by putting our rook on this better position, now we can bring our king into king e4, protecting our pawn, and we are going to win this game. I'll show you guys how we can convert this game. I'll go ahead and go quickly through this before we jump to the second lesson, which involves using 2 rooks. But how we win this game is they're going to play rook d7. They have to play some move. Rook d7 is actually the best move that they have in the position. Now what we do is play rook c5, attacking the pawn. Again, activate your rook even better. When you think that you want to make a move, maybe you're considering a pawn move like this, but this is actually the second best move in this position. So what you want to do is focus on putting your rook exactly where you want it. Now our rook here, I want to point out, is cutting off this king. So if they ever try to push this pawn, well, of course, we would just take it. So we're controlling their king, controlling this pawn, and now by doing that, we have 2 pawns against 1, and we will use our king to go up this side of the board and promote. But before we do that, what we want to do is play this move rook c5. Now rook c5 attacks the undefended pawn. Now their best move as they play is rook e7. Now what do we do here? Since we know that we're up a pawn, obviously we would want to trade down this endgame if possible. So we play the move rook e5, offering a trade. But if they trade, of course, we will be completely winning because we have a passed pawn here. Well, we'll make a passed pawn at least and win this game that way. And of course, we'll be able to take this pawn if they go after this way. So they go back to rook d7. Now we play d5. Once d5 is played here, now we push and we take back with the rook to activate our rook. Now you may notice that it is very similar. Earlier I said here, where was it? Let me go back just a little bit. In this position, I said d5 is the second best move, and we could actually play it here. And obviously, as you guys could see, we did end up going down a very, very similar route. But the difference is, the key difference is by playing this move, rook c5, we're begging questions, we're asking them, what are they going to play? Because they did play the best move by giving us a check, but we gave them a chance to make a mistake. We gave them a chance to try and defend this passively, whatever they want to play. So we give them a chance to make a mistake by activating our rook and making their rook passive. But of course, they didn't go down that route, which is why we went down this route, and now we're playing d5 because they're not going down that error route. Now when they take, you take back with the rook because you want to again activate your pieces and focus on piece activity. Now when they give this check, you slide over here because your rook is cutting off their king, and I'll just make this very quick. Now you're going to win the game by simply bringing your king over here and attacking the rook. And of course, after you play this, if they ever play a move like this to cut your king off, well, now you just push, and of course, this is a very, very simple win. So, as a quick summary for this first lesson, it was only possible by activating our rook and putting our rook on better squares. We did that once here, and we also did that right here, trying to also attack this weak pawn, giving them a chance to make a mistake. Now, on to the second lesson, we have 2 rooks on the board, and we're going to focus on the same simple strategy. We're going to focus on piece activity. So, what I'm going to do is set up kind of a scenario for you guys. For those playing black here in this position, I want black to think that they have a pass pawn. They're going to create a pass pawn, and they're thinking that they want to use this pawn advantage that they have on the queen side here to make a new queen, or this pawn advantage to make a new queen. But what we're going to do playing white is we are going to focus on the rule that I taught you guys. We're going to focus on piece activity. So, the move we play when we want to play with piece activity is we bring our rook to a square where we can go ahead and attack this. We use our rooks to work together. Now when they play this move b5, continuing their idea, we do not take the pawn, but we instead play this move rook d6. And why do we do this? We do this because now when they take the pawn, which is the very best move for black in this position, now again, we are focusing on piece activity. So you slide your other rook over here, and what you guys can see is once we win one of these pawns, of course, because both are under attack here, we will have our 2 rooks that are going to be working well together. Now, they're going to try and protect this pawn because it's their most advanced pawn. So they play this move, rook c4, the best move in the position. Now we take, and we see we are threatening to win this pawn. Now, of course, we would love to win this pawn because we have 3 pawns and they have 2. So we would love to eliminate this pawn. So we force them to play the passive move, rook b4. And now when they go rook b4, as you can see, both of their rooks are kind of passive because they're doing a job of protecting this one pawn. Now we use this to our advantage by first blockading the pawn, and then after they make a move here, we notice what we have is a hidden threat. So now we're threatening actually to bring our rooks over here and attack this pawn. So what we do is we play rook e3. Of course, they cannot push it because we would just simply take it. So instead, they try to prepare to push the pawn by playing the losing move, rook b3. Now, rook b3 is a great idea. It seems like a good, smart idea to play because if you play rook b3 and we take it, well, of course, now, as you can tell by the engine, it's pretty much perfectly even, and we're not really going to win this game. But we have something hidden in mind because we focus on piece activity. So by focusing on piece activity with 2 rooks, it involves bringing your rooks to the same file. Because what we have here is a very strong attack on this king, and it is actually game over. Because now when they push the pawn again, thinking I'm just going to keep pushing and supporting these pawns, we take first, forcing them back. Now we give another check, forcing them to one of these squares, and when they go right here, or back, they could go back, of course, as well. But when they go to one of these squares, now what do we have? We go over here to the side, and now we can see the strength of these 2 rooks. By attacking the king and saying, I'm not worried about your pawn on the queen side, what we have is a very strong attack where we're actually threatening some kind of checkmates. So now they go here, rook c2, and they're trying to, again, push the pawn, make a queen. We give them a check, and wherever the king moves to, now we play this move, rook d7, and as you guys can finally see, we have a checkmate, back-break checkmate threat on the next move. If they played a random move, as you can tell, this is actually going to be a forced checkmate. So, black has no option, even though they spend all this time trying to push this pawn up the board, they have no better option than to simply go back to stop this checkmate, which what does the move we play here? Try to pause the video if you've been paying attention. The move we play here now is simply rook a7, and we are going to win this pawn, and they cannot protect it. It is game over here. There's nothing they can really do. As you can tell, it is a 5-point advantage, and of course, whatever move they play, when we take this pawn, as you guys can tell, this is completely winning. Because we focused on piece activity, we now have 3 pawns against their 1, and a simpler, and again, a rook versus rook endgame. So, of course, similar to the first lesson, this is completely crushing. This is actually even more winning than the first lesson. So again, as a quick summary, all you have to do in these rook endgames, in both of these positions, whether you have 1 rook or 2 rooks, is focus on piece activity, and what I mean by that is putting your rooks on the best squares possible. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, and let me know what you think about the video in the comments. Also, let me know what kind of content you guys would like to see, and if you are interested in chess coaching, just check out the description or the comments, and I'll attach a link as well. Thank you guys so much for watching.